Hey YouTube, this is Megan with Pagan Perspective, and this is Subs Week. We are back with Subs Week, and if you've been watching this week, we are talking about elementals. So the question actually comes from emogothcut. I have been wondering for a while if you knew anything about elementals, because I have been told I have one by a good friend. Okay. So, like I think some of the other subs, I'm a little unsure of the question. It doesn't sound like anything I've really heard before. What I have heard, however, is people asking about if they're attuned to an element. So it's possible that your friend could be saying that you have an elemental attunement, a focus. I know I'm connected with water. So that's something that's really important to me. I feel better when I'm around water. I'm clearly connected to the element. It's something I work with very often, and it's my element in that way. But I don't have an elemental. Elementals by nature are, well, in some ways uncontrollable. I mean, they're not something that would attach itself to you unless it wanted something from you or you summoned it. Now, if you summoned an elemental and you didn't tell the elemental to go in the correct manner afterwards, then you have a whole nother set of problems. And maybe we can get into that another time. But not a good idea to summon an elemental and then not release it. Just an FYI. So let's kind of go back to what it really means, this whole idea of the elements and elementals. So I actually have some information for you. So Empedocles, he was a student of the teachings of Pythagoras. So he was actually historically the first person known to have taught the concept of the four elements as a single cohesive theme. So he lived around 475 BC or BCE, depending on how you like to say it. And he lived in Sicily, in Italy. So he actually presented the teachings of the four elements as a fourfold root of all things. So these elements were the beginnings of all of nature. So the way that he kind of did that is he actually broke them down into parts that are a little different than we know them today, but mainly just because of the language. So he talked about them as being fiery, aerial, terrestrial, and watery. So these different elements are the same that we most commonly use today, which is earth, air, fire, water, and of course, spirit. So one of the things that he also did, though, is he also defined these elements a little bit more clearly. So for earth, he said that earth is cold and dry. Air is hot and moist. Fire, he said fire is hot and dry. Water is cold and moist. And this is really important when you're looking at the attributes of these elements to try and get a little bit more information about them. Elements also provide us with are a lot of information as far as the zodiac is concerned, as far as all of our correspondences are concerned. For example, I am not only attuned to the element of water, but I'm a water sign. So I'm a Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, those are all water signs as well. So you've got Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius for fire. You've got Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius for air, and of course Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn for earth. So those are different ways in which you could be attuned to a certain element. You can also be born under a certain elemental sign, so an elemental influence. But what it sounds like your friend is talking about, though, if they use the actual word elemental, they might be talking about actual elementals in their physical form, or at least on the elemental plane. So that sort of brings up a whole nother component. The first thing, though, I would ask you to do is just ask your friend what they meant. As some of the other subs have said, you know, elementals can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And within the pagan community, it can mean different things as well. So it's something to kind of just talk to your friend about. Find out exactly what they meant. Did they really mean that you have an actual physical elemental with you? And if that's so, have you been working with elementals in your ritual? Have you been experimenting and maybe not completing some rituals? Or is it perhaps that they meant something different? Who knows? Get that information first. And I'm going to do my best to answer the question kind of on the theoretical right now. What kind of energy, elemental energy, brings to your ritual? Elemental energy is pure. As humans, we do bring a massive amount of energy to our rituals. However, we're not perfect. And sometimes that energy can be tainted, whether or not we've had a bad day or we had something else on our mind. But when we invoke elemental energy, we bring the essence of that pure elemental energy to our ritual work. So it can be a real useful tool when you need to empower your ritual or empower a spell or any other work that you're doing. Elemental energy can really be an asset. So it's important to know that about the elemental energy, and that's why we invoke it. However, it's also a wild and in some ways untamed force. So you need to be aware of that before you go into working with elementals and elemental energy. Know that you're going to need to be on top of your game. You need to control it. You need to word your incantations and your invocations very carefully so that you're not inviting in all the power of an element without any boundaries whatsoever. So be careful with that. Be careful how you word things. It's a powerful force, and you don't want to play around with something when you might not be ready for it. So, and if you are ready for it, and you have been working with them for a long time, then have fun. Be careful. I highly recommend something that Twisted Witch actually brought up, and that is some meditation. It's really good to sit with yourself. You can go into trance, or just in my case, I go into a deep meditative state, and I actually then connect with my elemental force. So the element that I connect with, I actually will take astral trips to the elemental plane and speak with the elementals there on the plane that I'm most attuned to, which is water. And I find that that's one of the best ways to actually converse with elementals in a controlled way. And I think that that's really important. So one other thing about elemental energy that's important and that can be really helpful when you're invoking it in ritual is that you actually are bringing in natural force energy versus human energy. So that's something that can be really beneficial to your practice. It aligns the spell to nature instead of the human spirit. Nature really has no other agenda other than harmony. It always strives for balance. So if you work with the elemental forces in the right way, you generally will find a good harmony within your spells and any of your work. So there's kind of an old saying, there's only two reasons why your magic didn't work. Either you did it incorrectly, or there were opposing forces against you. So doing it incorrectly could mean that you didn't have the right boundaries and you were trying to call on forces that you weren't ready yet to control, or you had your correspondences or your alignments wrong, or you did something else in the ritual that, despite your intent, still wasn't in line with what nature really intended, or there was some other force, whether it be natural or human, working against you. So in that way, look at every single work as an experiment. You're trying something out. Figure out what works for you. Try a little bit here and there. Start slowly. Meditate on things first. Build a relationship. I think that's one of the most important things, is get to know the elementals before you start invoking them in your ritual. It's one thing to invoke elemental energy, and it's a very different thing to invoke an actual elemental from the plane. They don't particularly like it if you pull them off the plane and you don't know how to treat them. So keep that in mind. Start with just invoking the energy of the elements, and you'll probably do okay. So that's all I really have for today, guys. Please subscribe to my channel. That's Sabirasri. You'll find the link below. And I really hope that people have a wonderful week. And I hope that you stay tuned for more subs on the Pagan Perspective for the rest of the week. Oh, you want to say hi? Somebody say, blessed be. Can you say blessed be? Blessed be. Good job. Good job. You're in the video.